What is up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back finally with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. We've been frantically trying to go live for the last 10 minutes. Technology was not cooperating, and our special guest here apparently is living in tornado country because he's got tornado sirens going all around. So we're just going to blame it on him. So if anybody's listening or watching to this in the future, hopefully Tom is okay and survives the broadcast, as we all hope to do. So anyway, we've got Tom Miller here. He's a friend of the show and a friend of me and Greg's, and Greg has talked to a lot of his agents, and Tom has just been kind of in the orb. He's been to Jeff Cohn's workshop and all kinds of stuff. So we're super excited to have him. We're going to talk about everything from building a team on professionalism and client service to how to do that and actually bring new agents from the ground up. I mean, like brand new agents that have not been licensed until he brought them on, how to train them up. We're also going to talk about FSBO scripts and kind of a consultative approach to taking on for sale by owners. So there's a lot of stuff we've got to dig into today. So first, let us welcome in our apparently flustered co-host in the Junior Grandmasters and the co-pilot seat, Greg McDaniel. What is up today?
What up, Playboy? Dude, today just has not been my day when it comes to technology. I mean, it's been an epic cluster F. I mean, I went to the office, and then all of a sudden my Windows 10 needed to update. It updated all day. Had to call my tech guy. Had to go get like a crap ton of unwanted programs taken off, like almost 1,900. Had to restart that. Knew it wouldn't be ready. Had to run back here. Had to work with you on a special project that we're doing, and then I come to find that I had a pop-up blocker, so we tried to go live on this thing and just bit me in the ass all day. But I'm excited to be here. Tom is awesome. I've worked with all of his agents when they were new. They're awesome, incredible human beings. And Matt and I were laughing our asses off air about some of the things that his agents are doing and being able to accomplish that veteran agents couldn't even fathom the idea this could happen. And so, dude, Tom, I am so ready to learn from you. I have my Hobbit pad out. I take notes. Matt does not. And I'm ready to learn from
Got mine.
So I wanted to share that, Tom, you emailed both of us, or you messaged both me and Greg before like a couple hours ago that you were doing show prep, and you texted us a picture of your legal pad. Yeah. And so it reminded me of the fact that I just ran across the blooper video, which has the footage of where I first called Greg's pads Hobbit pads, like that he was like a Hobbit nesting. Which I think has gone into the annals of the show, and nobody really knows what I mean by Hobbit pads. That's what I mean, because Greg, he builds a nest of legal pads from stuff like a Hobbit nesting. So, Tom, are you the same way?
If I could turn my camera around the room, you would see multiple yellow pads right now.
I love it.
Yeah, and I think I told you guys, my wife rolls her eyes when I bring the yellow pad out.
Oh boy, here we go. Here we go.
Oh man, yeah, that's
too much fun. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, Tom, catch the audience up to speed on kind of where you're at, where you come from, a little bit on your background, and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I actually on May 20th, it'll be my 4th anniversary having a real estate license. So nice. I'm pretty darn fresh. I've got a background in banking, and it's funny doing some prep, just thinking back about my background. One of the things that got me excited about real estate, I love doing deals. I mean, as long as I've been in the business world, I love putting deals together. It makes me excited, and I think it's awesome to make things happen. And so I was thinking back, and I actually texted my mom today. I'm like, what age was I when I started sending proposals to you guys for things I wanted? We were laughing. I used to write up proposals when I was like 10 for things I wanted on why what I was going to do to get it and why I should have it and all that kind of stuff. And so funny. I've been putting deals together since I was probably about 10 years old.
I love it.
And that's funny. Took a little break in college and actually graduated from our local building trades program. And so I've been, again, back from when I was a kid, pounding nails, loved houses, and grew up watching This Old House since I was a little kid, and just always loved everything about houses, loved working with people. And when I decided it was time to be done with banking, it was like, what's next? And it was commercial real estate or residential. And it was just looking at my past. It was like, I got to do residential. It's just a no-brainer, basically, is what it came down to. So got my license.
Now, is that more because are you more of a people person that, would rather like deal with the people side of things rather than just the pure numbers and cold calculating part?
Yeah, this is uncensored, right? So,
yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
So the thing I learned, when I was in banking, did some capital raising and did some different things. And between capital raising and and commercial real estate. I've got some really good buddies in the commercial world, and there's just a lot of kind of heartless bastards in that world, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, life's too short. I dealt with that for a long time, and I'm like, I'm all about hitting singles and doubles now, and I just like making people's day. It's like, what can I do to help folks? I've got this skill set. I can help people that need help, and this is what I want to do going forward. And I don't need to hit home runs. It's all there is to it. It's lots of singles and doubles are what I like doing, and residential real estate's where it's at.
I like getting paid multiple times every month, Tom.
Yeah,
not one time every 18 months. That sucks.
Yeah. So when I was talking with my commercial buddy, he's like, we had lunch one day, and he's like, my job is to talk you out of this. And I'm like, well, that's good. He's like, it's like climbing mountains. And he's like, you can work on a deal for 2 years where the commission is going to be $250,000. And at the 24 hours before it's supposed to close, it falls apart.
Oh,
and I'm like, yeah, I got no interest in that.
Zero.
It's just, I don't need that. I'd rather just do smaller deals and keep doing them and having a good time is what it comes down to. So I'm here, and it's awesome. And I knew when I got in this business pretty much right away, or not too long after I started, I don't want to be a single agent. I mean, I've never been a one-man show. I mean, I've always had a team around me doing all sorts of stuff. And it just, it was interesting. I got going in real estate, and at first I thought, the question was, do I get my broker's license or not? And started looking at, do I open my own brokerage? And all of a sudden, as I was doing my homework, this team model emerged, and Jeff Cohn was probably the first person I saw talking about it. And then as I kept doing my homework, all these people were getting interviewed, and it's like, wow, there's a very clear model here that just makes a ton of sense to me. And when you're out there by yourself, being a one-man show, it's kind of lonely, frankly.
Kind of lonely.
You got nobody to talk to. You got nobody. I mean, nobody really cares what you're doing. I mean, it's just whatever. And it's like, I don't want to do this by myself. It's like, let's have a group of people to, maybe we can all kind of leverage each other and do something bigger here. And so I started studying this team model, and I'm like, yep, this is what I'm doing. Spent about 1.5 years really kind of deciding that. Went to Jeff Cohn's 12-hour workshop, and literally I was there for half an hour, and I'm like, I got to do this. There's no reason. I went scared to start a team. 30 minutes after I was there, I'm like, this is just dumb. There's no reason I'm not doing this. And so it's
so
like,
what's your team look like now?
So got 3 agents working with me, and I've got a transaction coordinator.
Yeah.
And
okay.
So,
and then you're still producing, right?
And I'm still producing. Yep. Probably not as hard as I could, because I'm working really hard I want to build this scalable model that I can build out, and it's really hard to produce and do that. And so I'm probably doing about half as much as I could be. But I guess I look at it like I'm playing the long game. So I want to get this foundation built, so then the next group of agents I bring on, I'd like to bring on 3 to 5 agents at one time. So I'm training a group of agents rather than just onesie twosie agents.
That's good. Oh, we'll dive into that.
What did you look for in your agents when you were bringing them on? What were the characteristics you're looking for?
Warm bodies.
You can fucking me, or you can join the team.
That's a high standard in real estate.
Yeah, no. So I've been around people for a long time, and I've worked with a lot of different people, and I feel like I'm a fairly decent judge of people. And so when I meet with folks, I can tell pretty fast if I've got interest in them or not. And just, if people got that sparkle in their eye, you got something you can work with. I don't necessarily need experience. What I need is attitude and some aptitude. And one of the things that I learned from just this awesome guy from my banking background, this guy he was awesome. In fact, he gave me, at the first meeting he came to, it was kind of a rough meeting. He was from the Twin Cities, was coming down to Des Moines on a weekly basis to work with us. He took a 2x10 and with 2 fence staples nailed 2 antique spurs to that board and presented it to me in a loan committee meeting. Said, in front of everybody here, you're going to need these. And this guy was amazing, and he's dead now, but been a huge mentor in my life. Taught me a lot of things. Crazy things. And he taught me two things about people. And I think this is super important for people you're looking at to be on your team. And I think it's super important to look at in qualifying clients too. And what you got to figure out with people is two things. First, do they want to? But second, can they?
Mm-hmm.
And so the do they want to is super important. But if they want to and they can't, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And if they can't, it doesn't matter how bad they want it. It's not going to happen. And that is like the ultimate qualifying thing right there. It doesn't matter who you're working with. And so it's pretty simple. It's like, how bad do they want it? And do I think they can do it? And
right.
My first three agents, Charlie came on first, and then Stacy and Ryan came on about the same time, and, met with them both, or met with all three of them, and, had great first meetings with them. And I'm like, okay, there's something we can work with here. And, we've been working really hard ever since. And Greg, maybe you can remember back to this point. And one of the points we're at now with them is they've all been in real estate for almost a year. I think your first year is actually easier than your second year.
Yeah, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, so your first year, and everybody's excited because you just got in real estate. So everybody's talking about it. Year two, everybody's forgotten that you're in real estate, and so it's a little bit more work to remind. And I actually went through that myself. My first year, it's easy. It's an easy conversation. What are you doing now? Oh, I just got into real estate, and you're talking about it. Year two, nobody wants to hear about it anymore.
It's like, shut up already. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. And so, a couple of them are falling into that range right now where it's maybe not quite as easy as it was right out of the chute because they don't have everybody working for them like they did when they first started. But they're doing great, and I'm super excited. They're all great people.
Well, there's a way that we can get people re-engaged with your agents and get them on their team, like team Tom or team Matt or team Greg. Do you want to know what that might be?
Sure.
Okay, good. I hope you didn't say no. I'm like, all right, fine.
No, don't care, Greg. Shut up.
You shut up, Johnson. So what are you going to do? You can either do it digitally now on Facebook, or you can do it on an email that you'd send out to all of your folks, and you're going to send it out the first month of each quarter. So January is going to be an email going out, hey guys, Happy New Year's, yada yada. Do a little niceties, don't make it too long. Say, hey, look, we have a goal here at the McDaniel Callahan team to do 45 deals, 50 deals this year, and I need your
help 50 families.
Yeah, sorry. We want to help 50 families buy or sell real estate. And what we need your help. Who do you know that I know? Who do you know that I should be speaking with that might be thinking about buying or selling? And then you give them an update every first month of every quarter, letting them know where you are so that you're still there. You're not selling them anything or pitching them, but you can have them jump onto your team because people always want to help out their friends and family. If you keep top of mind and you're like, oh, dude, I got the email from Matt the other day. Dude, he's like 6 families away from finishing his goal. And then all of a sudden, bam, your reticulator, pops on like, ooh, Bob Jones from Remax, that dick. He's thinking about selling. That's an inside joke.
So I'm really excited. So actually, we're doing that, and a big shout out to Frank Klesett. So I just went to his full day deal he did in Omaha last week, and that was incredible. And one of the things that I took out of that was there's kind of a new. Why wouldn't you implement viral throughout your whole team? And how can my agents leverage my viral marketing to keep engaged with their folks? And so we're actually going to do a webinar with Frank at the end of the month on how can we get their databases involved with that, build their databases. And then at that event, Frank actually presented a handful of great, basically permission-based marketing, some great ways to help not only myself, but my agents build their list and build that viral thing. So it just keeps on rolling. And I'm super excited about that. I think it's going to be a game changer for my team. So
now, do they send out your videos already to their database? And are they already all lumped in?
Well, no, one of them does, but 2 of them don't yet. And so we're going to work at the end of the month here on onboarding them and getting them rolling with that. And
you're talking about taking their personal databases, adding it into the team database, making sure they're getting your viral videos, but then bringing those agents into your videos so that they see you as like one cohesive team, and now you have one cohesive database, right?
Yeah, some of that, as well as Viral will break out their lead list so that they each get their own list after the fact of who's opened the
the open click report. Yeah, so they can know exactly who in their database clicked and that they need to follow up with. Perfect.
Yep.
That's
So I'm super excited about that. I think it's gonna be really great. And
That's awesome.
Frank downloaded a bunch of stuff to us on permission-based marketing and things we can do with that as far as in person and on the phone and just rather than constantly beating people over the head asking for business, how can we invite them to do things with us and make it more approachable for people that maybe aren't comfortable just making direct hard cold calls, so to speak.
Yeah, that is a struggle. I mean, Greg, we've experienced this ourselves. We transitioned from our first class of this year being Rockstar Prospecting, which is all about circle prospecting and cold calling, to then pulling back, coming up with a completely new class called Get Now Business, which is about the exact opposite, because there's so many people out there in our audience that considers themselves introverts or whatever the case is, that just the idea of picking up the phone and calling either a stranger or even someone in their own database they're not a fan of. And so we wanted to create a course for them too. So that's what's going on right now. The next class starts in June. But yeah, I mean, you have to look at what somebody's personality is, because they may not be suited for, calling expireds, calling Fizzbuzz. Some people gravitate towards those types of calls, like your guy that gravitated towards Fizzbuzz for whatever reason. He found that niche where he's comfortable. If you try to throw a random person, if they're like a high SC or an IS into calling Fizzbuzz, they're probably going to struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and frankly, I struggle a little bit with that. I
don't know anyone that's a fan of it, except for Greg, and that's because
phone.
Greg doesn't want to follow up with anyone. So Greg
likes a date, Dick.
Rather hit
well,
1,000 people than talk to the same two people.
Yeah, he would rather talk to someone once and then call it good than have to talk to them over and over again. Yeah, so it's just a different. It's funny. Everybody has their things that they would rather not do.
Did you learn that at the bar?
What?
I have no comment on that. No comment. Somebody did make that comment though. They're like, I wonder if that carries over into Greg's personal life. And I'm like,
who knows?
That's all I'll have to say about that. All right. So Armando commented, "Hey guys, said today was a good day. I completely agree. We haven't had to grab our AK at all. So we're rocking and rolling here."
Dude, I did a coaching call with Armando last night. And,
did you really?
Yeah, we had a great call, man. A lot of fun, and I think he took away some really cool ideas. But Armando, are you working with the MPs? You down with the with your vets and everything else, man? Dude, he was a MP in the military. Thank you for your service, by the way. And then in the police force. I'm like, have you been leveraging that? He's like, no. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, you bleed together. You can buy a house together. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's very, very cool guy. I see a lot of cool things with him.
So here's something I'll talk to you guys quickly about on building a new team. And this is something that came out of Jeff Cohn's deal, team building workshop the other day. There was so that was a great group of folks 2 weeks ago. And there was some of us that had newer, smaller teams there. And this is, I think, a real challenge that we're having as a team right now. Would love your guys' input on this, but it's something that Jeff can do easily because the number of people on his team. But I've got Boomtown and it's fantastic, but frankly, we get way too many leads from it. I mean, we're getting like 130 leads a month at my minimum spend with them, which is crazy. And I'm not taking any of them. I'm just giving them all to the team members. And frankly, they've gotten overwhelmed. I mean, in the first 12 months on Boomtown, we got almost 2,000 leads, and it's just way too much. And so I had the lead shut off for the first 3 months of this year, just trying to get us caught up basically and not waste anymore. And so I left Jeff Cohn's deal feeling really good because there's a number of us there with smaller teams that are really struggling with just lead volume coming in, dealing with lead flow, what's the best way to serve them up to agents? What's the best way for agents to manage that? I mean, it's, as you know, when you're a newer agent, no matter who's coaching you or what's going on, you got this roller coaster going. You got nothing, then all of a sudden you got all this greatness raining down on you. You get like 6 deals going all at the same time, and then you got nothing. And so we're working through that, trying to help them spread that out a little bit. But you got all these leads dumping in on top of it at the same time, and that gets really complicated. And Jeff does this lead day, so he's got basically enough agents to have. You've got your Boomtown day. You've got your day where you get all the leads that come in. And so we're trying that, but it's probably not going to work from a logistical standpoint on the vendor side. which is fine. But that's the current challenge for a lot of new teams is, okay, so they've implemented these great tools. Now we're getting too much. How do we deal with it?
So actually, Tom, we're getting a couple of comments. Stevie Hahn, what up, girl? She's a friend of mine in Florida. She's like, I'm not getting that many leads from Boomtown. And then when Wesley Brooks, he's talking about, the same thing. Like what did you do to Boomtown? What kind of crack did you feed that thing to push out that many leads in that amount of time?
We don't have very many people in our market using it.
Oh, well, there you go. Simple answer.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the reality. In our market, there's under 2,000 real estate agents. The Des Moines metro area is over 500,000 people, and we've only got like 1,700 active real estate agents. So,
wow.
Yeah, and there might only be 5 of us using that at this point in time.
Wow. Now, why is no one else picking up on this? I mean, is it just
expensive?
How much is it? You're like $2,000 a month, but if you do like one deal, I mean, the cliche thing, you do one deal and you pay for
exactly.
yourself.
You pay for it, exactly.
Right. How many systems do you say in that? So how many deals you have to do a month just for your prospecting programs?
Yeah, exactly. And so, and the other thing I did is I've fired up, not to just drop a bunch of names here, but I've fired up with Lars Hedenberg with his new undergraduate program, and I'm pretty excited about that. And one of the reasons I got going with him is because I like the concept of going deep, not wide. And so all we do is Boomtown and viral marketing. People are spending a ton of money on Zillow, and I think that's fantastic, but we're not doing any of that. We've all got good enough databases, and Boomtown's providing plenty. I want to go really deep into these things and figure out how to really squeeze as much as we possibly can out of those dollars before we go to anything else. Not that I'm not going to add anything else, but for now, we just got to manage what we got is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody on the team building podcast here. He's worked with some of the top teams across the country, and especially in Canada. And he was talking about, like, if you look at the teams that do, 500, 700, 1,000 deals a year, he says when you look in there, you don't find more than usually about 3 different pillars of lead generation. Of course, referrals are always a big one. But then you get a couple of lead generation systems and things like that, and that's about it. Like they do the same thing. The really successful teams always go super deep on 2 or 3 things. They don't scatter, and they don't go from one thing to one thing to one thing like most individual agents do. So yeah, I think you're on the right track there. It's just basically the first few years of being in business, and it's like trying to throw enough mud against the wall to see what sticks. But once you find what sticks, you freaking figure out how to systematize it and optimize it so it's just humming perfectly along before you move on to the next thing.
And that's exactly where we're at. I would love to bring on some agents, but I'm not going to do it until we've got this figured out a little bit more, because I wouldn't feel good bringing on more agents right this minute, knowing that we don't have this quite as tight as.
But Tom, you're breaking hearts all over Des Moines right now. Come on.
Yeah.
They're heartbroken. They're sinking into their couches right now as they listen to this, or they're collapsing at the gym like flies, going, I can't join Tom's team right now.
All 4 people.
All 4 people.
Yeah, all 4 people at the gym in Des Moines right now.
Yeah.
While the tornado sirens are going off.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, they need to get there. They need to get to the gym. All right.
Yeah. No, but that is, and I would tell you, I think that's something that really, there's a lot of people that have, I think, tried to start teams and done it unsuccessfully, and there's a lot of people that want to start a team, and I think this is something that really
scaling up too quick.
Yeah, it's really something that needs to be talked about, because I don't want to just try this. I want to do it, and to me, it's like, let's spend a little bit, let's invest up front with some time and money to make sure we've got this machine built, because really that's what I love doing, is building the machine.
Yep.
Let's build this machine, and then let's just make it so we can plug people in and have a great system going so that they can be successful in a way that maybe they couldn't be on their own.
Well, that's what a lot of agents don't do, is they don't look at it as a business. They don't build a machine. They go with shiny object syndrome, which is a huge issue. How did you stay away from it? Is it just your years in the banking industry, or what?
Yeah, there's always a vendor that wants you to spend your money. And I learned a long time ago that, there's a lot of great tools out there, but they are freaking hard to implement. I mean, it's one thing to buy it. It's a whole nother thing to actually use it. And all this stuff is garbage in, garbage out. And I know in my past in banking, bought some shiny objects and either never used them or stopped using them because it was like, this just isn't doing what we want. And then I was wishing for some other shiny objects that weren't there. Instead, found a couple great partners that were super smart doing great things. And we went super deep in that. And we were able to do some things that not very many people could do. As far as, and it's not a group of bankers, so we're not going to go into what it was because it'd be too geeky, but same thing in real estate. I mean, it's like, let's just, I learned a long time ago, when you hire professionals, just hire the best, because if you don't, you just wasted a bunch of money and you're going to end up hiring them anyway. So find who's doing the best things. Go do that. Yeah, just go do that. And one of my favorite quotes that I wrote this down a long time ago, and I don't even remember exactly what it was from, is I'm kind of a public television geek, and there was a special on George Washington on there. And one of the quotes about him was, he took the best ideas of the day and made them real. And that was like George Washington's deal. He didn't necessarily come up with the idea, but he was the guy that took it and actually made it real. And I've kind of made that my personal mantra for the last 15, 20 years is, let's find the best ideas. I don't need to come up with them. I mean, I can sit around and come up with ideas with you guys all day, but let's take what I perceive as the best ideas and let's just go make them real.
Yeah, I'll write that down. And that's the step that most people don't take. Because the idea part, the idea generation or taking in ideas from the outside is the easy part. It's the fun part, the brainstorming part, the get out the markers and the whiteboard part. But yeah, it's the process of paring them down to what you think is going to be the most effective, and then actually implementing them, because that's where you actually start to find out, how to tweak them, how to adjust them for yourself and your own team. And that's where you make the mistakes and all that stuff. That's where it becomes real to you. And that's where you actually figure out what's going to work. Somebody said, I think it was Todd Tremonti on the podcast I did earlier today with Harrelson. He made the comment, really, really good. He said, it's great to model them, but it doesn't mean you copy it exactly. Like, you model in the sense that you grab what you think of theirs is going to work the best for you, and you model that. You don't just unconditionally model what other people have built that work for them. You take the best of what they're doing that you feel like would work for you, and you go and you actually implement it. Yep.
And that's, so when I did my homework on this whole team thing, I looked at everybody from Jeff Cohn to Greg Harrelson to all these guys, and it was very clear that there was a model that everybody is running. It was some type of, internet lead generation model, whether it be Boomtown or Real Geeks or whatever at the time when I started looking. And then everybody was using viral marketing. And I'll just throw those two out there. And I looked at, okay, what are the key tools that all these people are talking about that every single one of them is using? Like, I'm just going to use those two tools. And then I'm going to build my business around those two tools, because it's clearly working for all these folks. There's something there that works. Then we've just got to build what works for us out of those tools and make it happen.
Yeah. Love that. Cool. Yeah. Well, let's dive into the conversation on Fizzbuzz a little bit. So tell us a little bit about the agent that you brought on that's really talented at that, and what his background was and how he came in. And then we'll dive into the actual scripts and kind of process that he's following.
Yeah, so I'll give a little shout out to Ryan Sharp. He came on, didn't have a whole lot of experience, and he's probably one of the most coachable people I've ever been around. You tell him what he should do, and he just grabs on and does it. Doesn't think about it, just goes.
That's good.
And so he was getting a little frustrated, and so we talked about where is now business, and I'm like, well, expireds for sale by owners, and working, just getting out there and mixing it up with folks. And we don't have any expireds in our market right now. I mean, we have like maybe 2 a day at the most, and there's probably 60 people calling them. So that's pretty much worthless right now. But there's a ton of for sale by owners right now. And, I just know that they're getting clubbed over the head by a bunch of people that don't have a clue what they're doing. And, I think we all know that we'd all love to just be able to send out a postcard and get a listing, but that's not how it works. I mean, you actually got to get on the phone with these folks and mix it up. And so he started digging into this, and, he was getting kind of frustrated. So we started doing not really role playing as much as he would shoot things at me, and we would then kind of come up with a script or a dialogue that would work for that. And so, a couple of the themes that we've seen from talking to people, and once we've finally had appointments with folks, is a lot of agents are just treating people like garbage. I mean, they're really just being rude to them and telling them they're dumb. And
Really?
you know, why would you try? Oh yeah. And why would you try that? And I don't know where they're learning this stuff, but, I mean, you should hear some of the things that these listing clients tell us that they've heard when they're talking. People, agents hang up on them. I mean, all sorts of stuff. And so, the first thing I taught him is we need to come from a place of service. We truly want to help these folks. They've raised their hand saying, "I want to get my house sold." We need to understand what do they know about the process and how can we help them. And that doesn't mean necessarily getting an appointment on the first phone call. I mean, no, Greg, I don't know, when you're calling folks, how often do you get an appointment on the first phone call? Doesn't work when you ask. Yeah, exactly. And so the first thing we came up is never make them wrong. I mean, the client isn't wrong trying to sell their own home. It's their house. They can do whatever they want. So might not be the most effective way, but they're not wrong for trying. I mean, and that's actually one of the reasons I got in this business was my first 2 homes back when I was a banker, I sold on my own. Both of them were just great, super easy sales and did fantastic on them. And that was one of the things that gave me the confidence to get in this business was I sold my own, so I know I can do this. But I also know it's a complicated process, and a lot of people don't have the tools necessarily to navigate that entire process. I think the first thing that a lot of people think about is I just got to get a sign in my yard and pictures on the internet, and I'm good. And one of my favorite things to ask people, first question is, so what are you going to do when you get an offer? Everybody just sits there like that. They're like, oh, never thought about that. And so that's kind of a fun way to break the ice with folks. And so Ryan's got really good at, he just treats people with respect. We're all about adding value, you know, and I think I mentioned to you guys, he's actually had people pull their posts down off of Zillow or for sale by home sites while he's on the phone with them, because he just starts talking to them about days on the market. And he's like, you guys understand if your house has been on the market for a year, people can see that, particularly on Zillow, and they're starting to wonder like what's wrong with this situation here. And so we're kind of counseling people on, you know, if you're not really serious about selling, maybe it's not a great idea to have it out there, because everybody sees all of your past activity out there. Every buyer's looking at that, every agent's looking at that stuff. And it's like you're hurting yourself, actually, potentially. Not necessarily, but you're potentially hurting yourself. And so we talked to him about that. He'll talk to him about their pictures. Like a lot of people have horrible for sale by owner pictures. And he'll actually give them some staging advice based on their pictures and talk about, you know, the way they maybe have a room set up or their pictures are showing. And again, not making them wrong, but just giving them some hints on how they could maybe do it better, building rapport with them, you know. And then it's fun. Like I said, I've been on a couple appointments with him, and it's great. We'll sit down with these folks and be like, yeah, we know it's Ryan when he's calling. We got his name programmed in our phone. Oh, hey, it's Ryan. And he's really building relationships with these folks, and he's got some great success stories with some for sale by owners on just actually helping them get their home sold, and they're super happy when we're done. And
so let's ask the 800-pound gorilla question here. Great, this is phenomenal. Ryan's killing it. Knuckles to you, buddy. How long did that take? Because every agent's listening to this going, I want to do that plan. It's not a shiny object. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Like, you're not going to see results tomorrow. So what? It's 60, 90 days of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I asked Ryan that question. I'm like, because we were talking about, and I was tying what he's doing back to our buyer leads off of Boomtown, and I said, Ryan, let's talk about for sale by owners real quick. I said, how long is it taking you to get an appointment with these folks? He's like, oh, a month. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, and that's sometimes pretty fast. And he's like, yeah, sometimes it's 2 months before I get an appointment with these folks. And I told him back in September, I said, you know, the folks that you're talking to this fall and winter are the folks that are going to list their homes this spring. And I told him this spring, I said, now the folks you're talking to now are the people that are going to be ready to list their house in June and July. And I said, you know, so who you're talking to now is your future business. It's not actually business you're going to get next week. And you've got to be committed to that plan is what it comes down to. And if you're truly going to serve folks, I mean, you've got to be willing to put in a little bit of time and effort. And the reality of it is most people aren't ready to do something right now, whether it's a seller or a buyer lead. And
very true.
It's time.
We saying on our team almost exactly like yours. We say the people we talk to today are the people that we work with tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's just verbiage changing, but exact same thing. But the reason why I wanted to reiterate that is the fact that I really want to browbeat everybody going, look, pay attention to what Tom's saying. He's not just pulling numbers out of thin air. He actually has a legitimate backing on this. And if you think that you're going to like, oh, I'm going to call some Fizzbuzz and they're going to list and I'll be able to pay my mortgage this month. Most likely that's not going to.
Yeah, you're probably at least 90 days out on that paycheck, if not more.
Oh, yeah. Easily. But, and now people know that, and hopefully now they won't complain as much.
Yeah, well, hey, we can all hope, right?
No kidding.
Well, let's go. We've got about 10 minutes left. I want to go deeper real quick on the consultative approach. So you talked about kind of how he's approaching the phone calls, but you also mentioned that you've gone on a couple of appointments with him. So for you, training him, what is a good for sale by owner type of first meeting or listing consultation? What does that look like when you're doing it with more of a consultative approach versus an old style sales approach?
Yeah, so by the time we're going out to meet with a client, I mean, they're pretty much ready to list their home with us at that point. Mm-hmm. And so we're focused heavily on price, and we're focused on, what their costs are, and basically then kind of the next steps as far as getting a stager in there, getting their house ready to go, pictures, all those kind of things. And so we work really hard with for sale by owners on comparables. And great story, real quick. I can't reiterate enough with for sale by owners. You got to educate on how to value a house. We had one recently here. It's pending right now that we did the market on it, and we're like, this house is probably worth $230. Maybe we'd list it at $235, but that's probably a little bit of a stretch. Our market is super hot, 250 and below right now, just really hot. And so, I mean, houses sell so fast, it's not even funny. They're like, well, can we just try it at 245? And I'm like, well, here's the deal. I'm like, we can, but I'm not sure if it's going to sell, and I'm worried about it appraising. So, but I'm like, we'll try it for a week and see where it goes. Well, sure enough, a newer agent wrote the offer, and we got a full price offer with hardly any contingencies in it right out of the chute. And so we get going a couple weeks down the road, it doesn't appraise. And now our clients are ticked off because they're upset because they don't think we're representing them. And we're like, look, the buyer can't buy this house at this price. And so reminding them about the early conversation we had, talking about what the appraisal is for, but they just didn't want to hear it at that point. And so good news is we were able to meet in the middle. Thankfully, the buyers had cash they could bring to the table, and we were able to get it put together. But I've been told by a lot of longtime agents that never happens. So we got really lucky on that deal. But Ryan and I have talked since then. We've really learned that in those situations, when we're working with for sale by owners particularly, we've got to really work hard on educating them on what the appraisal is for, talking about what comparables really are, making sure we understand what their real expectations are, because people will tell you what their expectations are just to get you to do something for them, but then they'll change it on you. They'll tell you the real expectations once you get something for them. And so trying to get those real expectations out of the client at that listing time to say, hey, what if this doesn't appraise? What are you going to do? And letting them know if it's a situation where we're really concerned about it appraising, having that conversation and saying, we really need to have a contingency plan. I just had a deal this last week, listed it kind of on the high end where I thought it would appraise, but on the borderline, we got an offer $6,000 over list price.
Whoa.
And my buyers had to remove the early 2 days prior to that, had to remove a subject to sale on offer they wrote on a house. So they're hanging out there and they're like, well, we got to get this done. And so we did a whole different scenario on that deal where we knew up front that this wasn't going to appraise. I'm like, there's almost no way this is going to appraise for this. We actually had 2 offers over ask price. And so we worked out a deal up front that basically nets the seller full price no matter what, but has a contingency written up so that if it doesn't appraise, they split the difference down to a certain dollar amount.
Interesting.
So it's all taken care of up front. So that and we also wrote in there, the appraiser shall go for maximum value. So we're instructing the appraiser in that, we're instructing the banker in that, saying, and using the word shall. So they have to go for maximum value. They can't hedge this sucker. trying to get a better deal for their client. Either way, my client wins. They're tickled. They get a full price deal no matter what. Maybe they get some extra cash out of the deal.
Mm-hmm. That's a real. I like that strategy.
That's better than getting 3 weeks down the road and finding out it doesn't appraise. Probably knew it anyway, and then having to either put the house back on the market or try to figure it out at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Just having like a well thought out contingency plan, even if it's just for your own self and for your clients, is fantastic. But if you can build the contingency plan into the paperwork, even better.
Yeah.
Love it. That's awesome, man. Very, very cool. Okay, so in the last few minutes that we have left, what's the next step for you? So we talked a little bit about, you've got a few agents. You want to really like lay the foundation before you start stacking agents up like cordwood in the corner for those long winter months in Iowa. So before you do that, like what's that look like? Is that do you feel like that's a couple-year plan? Is that a 6-month plan? And what systems are you looking to like really get solidified before you start really recruiting?
Yeah, it's, realistically, it's a 6 to 12 month plan. I need to bring on an in the office admin person. My transaction coordinator is fantastic. She makes everybody's life easy. She takes it from, purchase agreement to closing, which is awesome. But I need somebody.
Is she virtual though? Like
kind of. Yeah, I mean, she's local, but virtual work from home. And it's great. They just charge by the transaction. It's awesome. Great. She's got a great reputation in town. Everybody loves working
back up. So you pay her just by the transaction part-time on contract, and you've had good experience with that?
Fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, I've heard people say that now, because that's how I did it back in the day, but I've heard people say that that's not a good idea, and I get where they're coming from, but their perspective on it is if you pay someone by contract, just like per deal, as soon as the market gets hot, a lot of those people want to jump in and they'll start selling, and they'll get so busy they don't want to do your deals.
The beauty of Linda is she doesn't like to sell.
Well,
she used to sell and she hates it. She loves this part of it, and she knows
that's what you want.
To sell.
You want a TC who's done sales and knows how much they hate it.
Yeah. And she is very particular with the agent she works with. She doesn't like problems. So she's actually fired agents in the past, and she knows what she can handle, and she just takes awesome care of us. And I tell my team we have to do whatever we can to keep her happy, because it's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And,
so you got that TC, you got this amazing person who's on contract. So then the next step is to get an admin person like in the office. What do you see them doing? Like what's the first things you would offload to that person?
Yeah. So, all of us need our databases cleaned up. I mean, none of us have great information. So that's job one.
Just picking up the phone, calling, verifying contact info.
Getting the latest, making sure we've got physical addresses for people, making sure we've got the best email addresses that aren't their work email address, making sure we got every phone number, all that kind of stuff. So we can get a really complete database out there and have that super clean. That's a huge deal. I'm doing a ton of administrative work. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's super easy for me to pop a flyer together. It's super easy for me to do all that kind of stuff. I need somebody I can plug in to do that work, basically. Follow up with listings, just a lot of the day-to-day communications that need to be happening prior to, once we're in the going to closing type situation, just true administrative work. And
gotcha.
I look, particularly the past 3 or 4 months here, as we've gotten busier, I look at it and it's like, I'm doing way too much administrative work, and I got to get rid of that. And it's just been me being uncomfortable bringing somebody on, knowing I'm their meal ticket basically, and I got to be able to pay for them. And knowing that right now it's just easier for me to do some of that stuff rather than take the time to train somebody. But now it's like, okay, I got to find somebody really good, and I need to get them in here and train them so they can do this stuff for me, so I can get out and do the things I love doing a lot more.
Yeah. Which coincidentally are much higher paying things.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know, Greg, do you have anything to contribute on that? Otherwise, I will jump in.
No, Matt, you can cut me off.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's Tom. That's definitely something that I've been through and continue to go through and stuff like that. Just continually like bringing on people and then having to train them on the systems. Like it makes your work, it doubles your workload in the short term to cut it in half in the long term, essentially, which ends up saving you more time. But yeah, it's hard to go through the short term pain and the financial commitment to bring somebody on. And I think there's a lot of people in the audience that are in that position. I mean, we've got a couple of stars that just joined us, like Terry Jeffries out of Chicago and Lindsay Soprani, who's been on the show before. Lindsay actually helps people find those positions, and so if you need help with that, Lindsay's a great one to check out. But like both of them have been through that position, and they, they're hiring those people, so they know how much work it is, and helping agents and teams around the country like build out those systems for those people to run. And yeah, it's work up front. It's interesting, like, when you have to take something out of your head that you just do without thinking about it, and you have to teach somebody else how to do it. It's not even just an issue of getting them to watch you and shadow you do it. Then once they figure out how to do it, then you have to figure out, okay, what's the communication system from me to them to get them the information that I just have swimming around in here, unformatted, that I just spit out naturally without thinking about it. There's all those
exactly.
little things.
The stuff in your subconscious, it's like you got to figure out how to get that stuff into their head and help do that. And it takes finding the right person. And frankly, I'm going to work to find the best person I possibly can, because I am a believer in, hire slow and fire fast. I just think that's a big deal. And I think I've brought in my past lives, brought on the wrong person, and it's actually cost me rather than helping. And good people will quit when you bring on a bad person. So it's super important to make sure who you're bringing on has quality and really knows what they're doing and has potential to grow with the team as well. And that's, I am envious of the folks that like Jeff Cohn has. He's pretty lucky to have Kevin and Andy. I mean, those guys are one of a kind finds, and not very many people get lucky enough to have folks like that on their team. And it's hard to know that and then go try to find somebody that can function at that level,
Yeah, it is. And he did get lucky in the sense that he recognized talent when he's seen it, and he kind of found a place for them.
Yeah.
So if you know their background stories, you know that obviously he didn't hire them off the street for the positions they're in now. They grew into those positions, and he let that talent kind of rise to the surface. And when it presented itself, he's like, all right, well, let's keep moving you up, keep giving them a bigger opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. I just haven't found that person yet. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is no rush. It's all about getting the right person in.
Well, and that's why I don't have that person yet, is because it just hasn't really presented itself, and I haven't gone all out to go find that person yet either. So that's kind of my summer project here, is to really get serious about, okay, I need that person just for my own sanity to keep things moving forward here.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, in the last few minutes that we have left, why don't you let people know, Tom, how they can get in contact with you and keep you in mind, like what areas do you work in so they can keep you in mind for referrals?
Yeah, so I work in the central Iowa area, Des Moines. Mainly I kind of work the northern and western suburbs of Des Moines. Most people from bigger areas would laugh that we call them suburbs, but small towns that surround Des Moines. And, we focus on existing real estate. So kind of that mid 100s up to the 500 range. And love to help people buy, sell, and invest. So
very cool.
You can, shoot me an email at tom@dsmhomes.com. And that's probably the easiest way to get me.
Very cool. So Tom at DSM Homes. And Greg, you want to share real quickly about our latest course that fires up the first Monday of June?
Yeah, I'm actually looking for the link right now. Guys, it's Getting Out Business. I already shared it into this, what we call it, into our podcast news feed. So go and take a look at it. And guys, this is going to be it's going to be everything that's not door knocking. So anything that's it's fearful, that you're like, I don't want to go do door knocking. I don't want to do cold calls. Well, this is your class, guys. No joke. It's built for people who are getting back into the business or getting into the business originally. They have zero budget. They don't know where to go, don't know what to do. This will guide you through that. There's business right here. It's right in front of your face. You're blinded by, everything you hear out there from like buy leads, do calls, do doors, yada, yada. When there's so many free resources or a couple of sources that are at such a low cost. And I just put the link in again for you guys. That Matt and I have, dug around, uncovered, put it together, and now we're bringing it to you guys. So guys, go to the link, watch the video. It's $297 one-time fee, and you guys get the recorded versions of what we're doing so that you guys can go back and binge on it and rehash the ideas, because there's going to be a lot of information flying at you, and then you guys can go out there and really make some money. So take a look at it. If this is something that might resonate with you, awesome. If not, completely disregard me, and you've lost a couple minutes of your life. My fault.
And if anybody is watching or listening to the replay, just go to getnowbusiness.com. That's the short link there, getnowbusiness.com. So the first session of the next go around, we're right in the middle of our May session, so it's too late for this month, but go sign up for next month. That starts June 5th. That's the first Monday in June. All right, guys, and remember to subscribe to the show, iTunes or Stitcher if you want to do the audio version, or you can head on over to YouTube to subscribe to the video version. And I can't think of anything else. Just go to myfavoritescripts.com if you want to get from Greg's Favorite Scripts. Follow us on Facebook. That's a great way to connect. Do not friend us.
No friends.
I will delete it, and it goes into Facebook purgatory.
I will too.
That's right. And you can connect with Tom too. Follow Tom on Facebook. He's doing some cool things. So keep an eye on all of us on Facebook. That is the best place to connect with us. Greg, you have an Instagram account. I think it's McDanielCallahan.realestate, so you can follow him there. Any final words, Greg?
Nope. This has been awesome, Tom. You are a legend, my friend. Thank you for bringing all this great content to everybody. But and besides that, man, peace out, ninjas. We gone.